This lesson's topic is the postmodern detective. So before I can tell you what that is, I need to define what postmodernism is because most of you probably don't know offhand. Now here's the definition, straight from Wikipedia, which is where most of us get our information these days. Reaction to modernism, whereas modernism was primarily concerned with principles such as identity, unity, authority, and certainty, postmodernism is often associated with difference, plurality, textuality, and skepticism. It is also marked by a revival of traditional elements and techniques. Now, the important parts of this are, for modernism, identity, unity, authority, and certainty. This is the sort of thing we see in modernist films, which are the older films like Maltese Falcon. And we see it to a certain extent in Dirty Harry, but it was really kind of starting to move into postmodernism. So postmodern films are about difference, plurality, textuality, and skepticism. Now, what does that mean? It's about creating something new, inspired by something old, while questioning the original meaning. So a good example of this would be Devil in a Blue Dress, which is something new, well, relatively new, inspired by something old, because it's a period piece, and it questions the original meaning. It kind of dives into it in a different way. And this is really what neo-noir is about. So a lot of neo-noir, it really is postmodern to begin with, and a lot of our detectives are postmodern detectives. So what is a postmodern detective? First of all, we have to talk about a modern detective, the regular kind. A guy in a trench coat and a fedora who solves mysteries for private citizens. A good example would be Sam Spade from The Maltese Falcon. That is what he does. He has the typical look. He does the typical things. It could also be a cop who protects and serves and does it by the book, which is what we see in the older representations of law enforcement in older films. Newer films, Dirty Harry is definitely kind of a turning point for that. So we get into postmodern detectives. What are they? It could be an impotent detective, and by impotent I mean someone who can't actually do their job. So Chinatown and The Long Goodbye are good examples. They're essentially detectives that can't solve their cases. A dirty or rogue cop, so Brooklyn's Finest has a lot of dirty cops in that. Dirty Harry, there's an example of a rogue cop. A high school student, like in the movie Brick. A teenage girl from the Ozarks from the movie Winter's Bone, if you've seen that. Newspaper reporter, a good example would be Red Riding 1974. In this particular case, our detective is a newspaper reporter. Or it could be a perpetually stoned hippie burnout like the dude in The Big Lebowski. He is a detective, he just is really, really bad at it. And that's, definitely gets to the heart of what a postmodern detective is about. So our film for this lesson is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang from 2005. Now, in this particular film, we have a criminal who's pretending to be an actor, who's pretending to be a detective. It gets kind of convoluted, but the film makes it relatively clear. He gets involved in a mystery, but unfortunately, since he has no detective skills, it becomes really hard for him to solve that. So, in that particular case, he is definitely a postmodern detective. Now, this film also comments on noir characters, so femme and homme fatales, noir locations, Los Angeles, which has always been a very popular location for noir films, and also noir techniques, the use of narration, which we definitely have, and also flashbacks. This film definitely has puts its own particular spin on it. And also, like classic noir films, I'll definitely point to The Maltese Falcon. It's fun to watch, but you don't always know exactly what's going on, so it won't always entirely make sense. In this particular case, because this film is a comedy, it doesn't really need to make sense because, the gags still keep coming anyway, so it doesn't necessarily need to make a whole lot of sense. This is the last film of the class, so enjoy it. I always try to put a fun film at the end.